attendance. There is a conflict with meetings this evening, so this will not be simulcast on YouTube. It will be added to the YouTube channel tomorrow.
Thank you, Mary Rose.
You're welcome.
With that, I'd like to call to order the April 6th regular meeting of the Inland Wetlands Agency. Lisa, please call the roll.
Ranjit Bahav. Daniel Bedeker.
Here.
Jim Connors.
Here.
Matthew Connors.
Here.
Dave DeFlameri. Heather Donaldson Gladue.
Here.
Steve Munson.
Here.
Jerry Panico. Lisa Tryon.
Here.
Brendan Magnan.
Here. Great, thank you. Commissioner Matthew Connors, could you serve as designated agent? Sorry, as the voting alternative?
Sure.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just as a reminder, as we continue to host remote meetings under the Freedom of Information Act and Governor Lamont's executive orders, this meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the City of Milford website. During this evening's proceedings, if you would like to participate, please use the raise your hand feature in the Zoom platform and wait for me to acknowledge you. When speaking, please announce your name and address before speaking. And at this time, I'd like to call everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the
to the
Republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mary Rose. If you could put the agenda up.
Second.
The first up agenda item is item C, public comments. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to address the board on topics not otherwise on the agenda? Again, any members of the public wishing to address the commission on matters not otherwise on the agenda? Going a third time, hearing none, let's move on to old business. Mary Rose, could you introduce item 1?
Yes, give me 1 second. I'm just letting in Commissioner Bahav. Okay, and item
I don't see Commissioner Bahav in the meeting. Am I missing?
hold on a second. Let me just let him in. He might be connecting. Or he popped off. I'll keep an ear open for his him to reconnect.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the first item is IWA 22-0021 883 North Street. It's a proposal for renovation and reconstruction of an existing building. For a deli with work within 150 feet of a wetland in the Wetland River watershed. Property owner and his contractor had started work without city permits in the fall, and now they're working to get that all permitted and back up and running. A portion of the building was removed and is now replaced. The gravel parking area and grassed area adjacent to the wetland are stable. Applicants' consultants are working with the health department on abandonment options for the on-site septic system and the status of the existing well. The application was presented at our last meeting. I had sent a letter to the applicants on March 22nd after reviewing the proposal, requesting missing items and updates to information on the plan to be submitted to make a complete application. I spoke with Doug Rich of Fuller Engineering yesterday, who didn't realize that he needed to make those connections or corrections and updates. And he submitted something about 12:30 this afternoon with an updated plan and a listing of how he had addressed those items. The city engineer received those at about the same time, but didn't have time planned this afternoon to review those for you. And I did a brief review. There's a few things that still need to be fixed. Not that they're unfixable, they just still need to be addressed. So at this time, I would recommend that you do not have a complete application, but you do have Mr. Rich of Fuller Engineering who may be able to answer some of your questions.
I guess the first question would be, Mr. Rich, do you have anything to add on to what was just stated for the record?
Sure. Yes, we did try to address all the comments that Mary Rose had.
Sorry, but could you state your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Douglas Rich, landscape architect with Fuller Engineering, office at 525 John Street in Bridgeport.
Thank you.
So yes, I did make the changes. I guess Mary Rose has a few more changes for us to make, or some changes that need to be changed. Basically, in my opinion, the changes that Mary Rose had enumerated in her review letter are more not technical deficiencies, but typos and Scribner's errors and things like that. A lot of it was already prepared. I think that we had some problems in the electronic transmission initially, because most of that information was addressed in the initial submission. However, what I'm looking at on the screen right now looks like she has updated the set with the changes that I submitted today. I don't know if the commission would like me to go through some of those changes, or if you've had changes to look at, or chances to look at her initial review of the set and had any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer those. The basic plan as submitted during the first hearing has not changed. Engineering has not changed. Method of sedimentation erosion control has not changed. Connection to the city sewer has not changed, nor has any connections proposed for the water supply. But what I did my best to address those things and be more clear in my response.
Yeah, Mr. Rich, if you could just indulge us and explain what the changes are that you submitted.
Sure. Do you all have benefit of her initial review letter? We could just.
No. I'm asking for you to just generally explain the changes that you've made.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So some of the like the pre-application form, I guess some of the information didn't make it in the pre-application form. And I provided an email back on March 16th and addressed all of those area questions that needed to be in the pre-application form. I've also included those areas in tabular form on the drawings themselves, so you can see both in both places. Digital.
If I could just answer, I think the gist of Mary Rose's point is that we need a complete plan as revised. So
I believe it is. I believe it is so.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good use of our time to kind of go through line by line. I just think if you could just summarize the essential changes that you've made or changes that are outstanding, that would be helpful.
I don't think there's any outstanding changes, like, scales of locus maps. Locus maps were on all of our plans to begin with. We just had a differing scale. She's asking for topographic information. We've had that in all of our drawing sets from day one. She asked about proposed grading. We're not proposing any grading. The surface contours remain the same, so there is no grading. She's asking for a missing legend. We feel don't need a legend because we've called out everything individually on the plans. Let's see, all the utilities have been shown. She asked for those, which kind of leads me to believe that maybe some of those drawings dropped off in her initial review. Municipal water, she asked about that, and we all know now that there is no municipal water in front of the property, And the applicant is going to rely on the existing well, which now I have now identified. You can see the existing well on your screen. It's in the back by the wetland.
Mhm.
So that well is functioning and is intended to be used continuously. Sedimentation erosion controls. We did show an anti-tracking apron in the initial submission. Mary Rose asked, how are we going to protect the northern part of the site? Our answer to that is we're not disturbing the northern part of the site. The existing pavement will remain the same, and therefore you do not need sedimentation and erosion controls there. However, we did put a silt sack in the existing drainage structure in the parking area as an added precaution. The entire perimeter of the work area, whether we are disturbing or not, is ringed with siltation fence as a precaution. Let's see here. We had some errant notations referring to a 1985 version of the Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control. We've updated that to the 2002 notations on all the plans. What else? Let's see. We talked about the water supply. No changes to the water supply. The only change we're doing is we're abandoning the existing septic system, and through discussions with the health department, they will accept any method of either crushing or filling it. And in my opinion, the least disruptive for this site would be simply to fill it with stone, and that's acceptable to them. That requires no disruption whatsoever to the site. And it also allows the existing structure to be driven upon as it is now. And I think just some notes referring to the inland wetland officer or the city engineer. I made those changes to the plans. And the water system. I think that's it. We haven't changed anything since the initial application, and just made basic drafting changes or clarifications on the plan. If we are it's acceptable to us, if you had any conditions of approval, we'd love to close it tonight if we could. I feel that this work is really not a significant activity in terms of inland wetlands. Very, very small amount of area is disturbed in the upland review area. There's no disturbance in the wetland area whatsoever. But if the commission has any comments or conditions to add to this, we'd be more than willing to accept that if that's something we can work out with staff.
Thank you, Mr. Reach. Mary Rose, going back to your recommendation, could you just elaborate on that?
Yes, the agency can't approve a plan that's not complete. We don't have signature from the soil scientist or the engineer record. Mr. Rich has provided his opinion as the landscape architect on the work, but the city engineer hasn't had the ability to review or comment on the work. There's still a few things. There was still an errant reference to public water when I quickly looked at this afternoon before I had other meetings.
Did I? No.
I just think that any plans approved by the Department of the City of Milford is considered an approved plan. People could point to it and say, we've got this approved plan, we can do this. It should be what's actually proposed or what the city can actually approve. And the agency has a minimum standard for submittal, and we're missing a few things.
Yeah, that's very clear.
Can I add something, if I may?
Please.
Mary Rose, if you could go to the survey plan itself, be the sheet 1, I guess.
So up one.
Yeah, the very first sheet, I think, right? Yeah, the survey, yes. So in reference to the soil scientist's signature, this is the first time I've ever done it, but that's not a problem. I provided a spot for her original signed sealed, place for that, along with the surveyor as well. We fully intend to submit record hard copy documents to the city with the signed notarizations on these plans. It just wasn't happening with the digital.
The reason the agency has always required the signature of the soil scientist on the plan is because in the past, and I'm not saying that there's an issue with this plan, but in the past, we've had surveyors miss flags and wetlands that are in inconvenient locations are somehow not shown on the plans.
Mhm.
So the agency about 20, 25 years ago decided that the soil scientist would be required to submit one plan for the record with their signature that shows that they attest that that line is a true and accurate representation of the line that they delineated in the field. And the city engineer and the inland wetlands agency require a signed, stamped, sealed set of plans. And we do that so that as it passes through the approval process, health department, wetlands, engineering, zoning, building, planning, everyone's looking at the same set of plans, or they know that this is the actual set of plans because the signed and sealed set is the actual set. And that's to prevent people from getting something approved in health or wetlands and submitting something totally different in another plan in another office, and then going to build something that neither office approved.
Absolutely.
It's just
I
a procedure.
understand.
The
Mhm.
very potential control. So, yeah, with that in mind, I believe, this agency is gonna accept Mary Rose's recommendation as we typically do. So unless there's any other further discussion, I suggest we move on to the next item.
So can I ask a question, Mary Rose?
Sure.
Quickly, what is the next step here in terms of dotting the i's and crossing the t's on this application for you, so that we can get this approved? Is it the next hearing in May then, or is every
Our next meeting, we meet every 2 weeks. So our next meeting will be the 20th. Between now and then, the city engineer requires a hard copy set of signed stamped plans. He did get the digital set and did a quick cursory review this afternoon. He had a couple of questions, but again, he hadn't planned time to review that plan this afternoon. So he couldn't get that in for the meeting this evening. So as soon as you get those plans to the engineer and they're the same plans I'm looking at, we'll both review again. If there's any questions, we'll call you. We can do a Zoom. We can sit down and review them with you if there's any outstanding issues. And hopefully we can get this tidied up so the agency could perhaps look at it the end of next week over that weekend and be prepared for the meeting on the 20th.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna echo that in advance. So the sooner this is all tidied up.
it's ready to go tomorrow probably, but you're not accepting anything digital now at this point. It's all hard copy.
We accept and require digital plans, and you can submit digital stamped plans. We get those all the time. But we don't have any stamped plans from your applicant.
Okay. So you don't need hard copy then at this time, or do you need
The
both?
city engineer requires a hard copy, and we
Yes.
require a hard copy for our records so that we have a field set to go out in the field and look at the site.
But
while you're
is that
developing.
submitted to you with revisions, conditions of approval after we've gone through this process and I give you a final set that's
The hope would be
As a
that
wet seal.
your revisions would include everything that the agency would want for conditions of approval. The idea is to have a plan that's complete. As I discussed with you yesterday afternoon, after the Stu Leonard's decision in Orange, you can't modify a plan after approval. You can't condition changes to a plan, significant changes to a plan.
yeah.
But the Stu Leonard's project went down because they required an extra piece of silt fence. So anything more than that requires a submittal before we can have a finalized approval.
Oh, okay.
So it should, your applicant should get from his consultants a complete set of drawings and plans to submit for an application. That's why I did the review back in March, so that could happen before tonight.
Okay, so these changes that you've enumerated, once we get those done, there will be no conditions of approval then upon.
The agency always has conditions of approval, but it's things like don't put your portalet next to the wetland, do your weekly inspections and reporting to the agency on the staff.
They're not substantive
fence.
plan changes. They're just, don't
Correct.
do this, don't do that. But
Right.
don't correct this typo on line 6 or something. like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it needs to be, the plans need to be tight, like you would be proud to submit them and have people show them up as this is a good set of plans.
Or put differently, our approval is conditioned upon the plan that's considered final at that time, right? This has to be complete.
What, can I get a feeling from the commission as to how aside from these Scribner errors and things like that on the set, what does the commission think about the general sedimentation erosion control strategy, the work that we're proposing, that sort of thing?
I mean, I think that's a fair question. I would just echo back what Mary Rose just said. We gave you feedback in the prior meeting. And so long as all of that feedback is addressed, there doesn't seem to be a preponderance of concern over approving it, so long as all of that's as part of the plan.
We do also rely on the city engineer's review of the stormwater and the plans in general. So it's important that you get him that set so he can schedule time to review it or time to sit with you so that we can get a finalized set before the agency.
Okay. That's Greg Podleski.
Greg Pulaski is the city engineer.
Okay. We will get that set into him tomorrow.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Rich. Anything further? Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the next agenda item, Mary Rose, if you could
Yep.
put the agenda back up.
Sure, 1 second.
I believe it's item D2.
This would be E, item E1.
E1, thank you.
All right, this is item E1. It's IWA 22-0029, 238 Zion Hill Road. This is a request for a 3-lot subdivision with 1 existing house with work within 150 feet of wetlands in the Wetland River watershed. There are no wetlands on this property. The wetlands are across the street on the opposite side of Southworth Street. There's a 150-foot upland review area, which CCG has shown as this arc on the plan. Closest work proposed for this is the site work required for the widening of the city street to city standards. That work is approximately 85 feet from the wetland. The agency approved a 2-lot subdivision for this property back in 2012. That was never built. And we have with us this evening, I believe, Ron Wasmer to present and answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Mary Rose. Mr. Wasmer.
Good evening. For the record, I'm a professional engineer there with an office at 158 Research Drive. I hope everything's going well because I lost connection for a second there, but I think I'm back with you.
Ron, you might want to try turning off your video because your audio is very choppy. And you appear frozen.
Okay.
Ron, it looks like you may be back. Are you there? We lost you there.
I am. I turned off my video. Not quite as tech savvy.
Okay.
So you can hear me now?
It's
Sorry
better.
about that.
No worries.
Yeah, I haven't had too much problem in the past, but it's been spotty for some reason right now. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. Ronald Wasmer, professional engineer, land surveyor with an office at 158 Research Drive, representing GAMS LLC, of which Angelo Lisi is a member, a resident of Milford. I'll give you a brief overview, which I think is going to be redundant to what Mary Rose just said, but bear with me. And then we can just take a quick walk through the plans. The proposals for a 3-lot subdivision. It's at the property is 1.8 acres. It's presently occupied by a single house and an existing barn. The land lies within the Weppawag River watershed, which is a 150-foot review area. It's located at the southwest corner of Zion Hill Road and South Street. There are no wetlands on the site. There are wetlands on an adjacent property east of this parcel on the east side of Southworth Street. Southworth Street is between the proposed development and the wetlands. The activity proposed within the 150-foot review area is some minor street widening to install curbs and sidewalks as required by the works. The widening is on the side of the street opposite wetlands. Also within the 150-foot review area will be the construction of a house, the driveway, and associated utilities. This includes public water, public sewer, and storm drainage. We do have an erosion control plan. And now we can briefly walk through the plan set if you'd like. I didn't lose you, I hope. Or you didn't lose me?
I'll hear you, Ron. You're
Okay.
fine.
Mary Rose, you want to just kind of walk us, flick through the first couple pages and
Sure. Make that a little bit smaller, maybe. Okay, there's your cover sheet with the general location of the site. This is Zion Hill Road, and this is Southworth Street.
there we go.
The project site
So
is the
there's
hatched
your-
area.
Thank you.
It's the existing plan, I believe. It's the existing
Second
condition
sheet
survey.
is the existing condition survey that shows the existing house and the existing barn.
And the 150-foot
The next
upland.
sheet
review
is the sheet number 3 is the subdivision plan. That's more just for recording purposes. There's not much in information regarding wetlands there. The sheet 4 is a zoning compliance plan. I think we could probably skip over that. That mostly addresses setback requirements, lot coverage, etc. Sheet number 5, which is the sheet that you did have up originally, is probably the most pertinent plan. That's called graded drainage and utility plan. So now you can see a blue line, an arc bisecting through lot number, I guess that's number 3. Yep. And that's the 150-foot review area from the wetland that's on the opposite side of the street. So you can see the houses within that review area.
Yeah, the 150-foot,
And then as we
Review
get
area.
closer to the street,
sorry, just to clarify, it's covering the 150-foot review area, covers lot 2 and 3. There's portions of lot 2 and portions of lot 3.
yes, I stand corrected. Thank you very much. And so then the road widening is the closest activity. So we're widening the road 4 or 5 feet to accommodate what the City Department of Public Works customarily looks for on a road such as this. It's basically an old farm road that got paved in the past. And so now with the proposal of these houses, we're required to upgrade the street, curbs and sidewalks, etc. The next page is the typical sedimentation and erosion control plan. We have silt fence indicated on the drawings, anti-tracking pads, protection around proposed drainage. And then the next page is road improvement plan, which just specifies the road work, a landscaping plan that's mostly addresses planning and zoning landscape requirements. And then we have some of the standard details, silt fence, tracking pad, hay bale protections around storm drainage, galleys, pavement thickness, sidewalk construction, etc. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have any specific questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Westmer. Questions from the agency?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Munson.
I was wondering, Mary Rose, I don't remember this from 2012, but can you sort of briefly describe what exactly did we approve? I mean, one house, was that one new house? Was that more or less what we did?
The 2012 plan was a 2-lot subdivision. So and I think Mr. Wasser was the engineer on that as well. So looking at this
No,
plan.
I wasn't.
You weren't, I'm sorry. So the dividing line may have been somewhere in here.
Right.
So you had a house here and a house there. There were similar issues with the road. It's not, doesn't meet city requirements, so it would have to be brought back. We've got the standard curb and sidewalk. So the majority of the work closest to the wetland is here. That really doesn't change in either plan. The difference is that there's 2 lots or 3 lots now, the existing house and two additional, where in the past there was 1 house and 2 additional.
Okay. So really all that's changed from what we did before. I mean, nothing that's being done as far as the road goes is different than what we approved before.
I would have to look. In the past, developers could request to not put in sidewalks. There's
Okay.
been a policy change where sidewalks are now required.
Well, that's
Well,
not
and
really it.
the only difference that makes to us is that there may have been, maybe there may be 4 foot less disturbance
Right. Okay.
for the
Well,
winding road.
okay. If that were to be the case, I don't know, sure that would make any significant difference to us.
No.
The driveways, my other question was the driveways will be paved driveways, Ron? Mr. Washburn?
Yes, typically the driveways would be bituminous. It's the standard concrete apron that's required by the city, and then a paved asphalt driveway to the
Okay,
2 new houses.
so other than that, small portion of one of the houses, that's all that's really being affected in the review area. My main concern was about what's going on with the road, but I don't think it's significant, even if it's difference in a
And the sidewalk area.
sidewalk. I mean, there's not much we can, I mean, I don't see that as being a significant sticking issue. I don't know, looks like a good plan to me. I mean,
I agree with Steve.
I would just add, though, that just to be clear, what was approved in the past doesn't really have bearing on what we're looking at tonight. We're considering this application as sort of on its own merits.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to imply that just because we did it before, we don't do it now. New plans should stand on its own.
Correct. I did have ask a question for Mr. Wassenaar. In relation to the expansion of the road, approximately how much wider, putting aside the sidewalk requirement, is it going to be than it is, if you know?
Well, you can see just above the word southward, the existing road bends a little bit further out. It says existing bit curb, and then Mary Rose is running her mouse along the proposed curb line, which shows a more uniform curb line parallel to the property line. So it varies, but I'd say 4 to 5 feet within your review area. It might be 5 or 6 feet as you get closer to Zion Hill Road.
Okay, that was what I was looking for. Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I have a question.
No,
Connors, Mr. Matthew Connors?
no,
Oh, sorry, Jim. So just real quick, so Mary Rose, can you point to the silt fence? Maybe I'm not seeing it correctly.
It's not on this plan. I'm sorry. This
It
was
is.
the
It
road
is.
widening plan. It is?
The plan that you have on
Oh,
right now.
yes,
yep,
it does. I'm
it's,
sorry. Yep. Sorry.
Yep. So
It's-
are they
it's-
not required to put a silt fence below where the road is going to be constructed? Or am I not seeing that correctly?
No, I'm sorry, through you, Mr. Chairman, they've installed these silt fences to keep the disturbance from the site from getting into the street, getting into the catch basins in the street. There's no real way to put silt fencing in the road because you'd be trying to pound it into asphalt. We
No,
could
no. Sorry to interrupt you. No, I meant to say like south of the road. No, you can't do that.
We can ask for silt sacks in the catch basins. You're getting across the street, you're going to be on property of others.
Oh, gotcha.
Within the right of way, we could discuss with the across the street, we can ask Mr. Wassmer to discuss with the across the street property owner if they can put maybe a fiber log nailed in there, but with the curbs, there shouldn't, no material, it would have to be pretty bad to get all the way across the
Got it.
street and up
I
a city
understand.
curb into the wetland. It would more likely get into the wetland through the catch basin.
Got it. That answers it.
So the goal would be to capture any sedimentation prior to it getting on the road. So which is why the silt fence is.
Yeah, the only
Property.
question that I had though is the expansion of the road itself. That wouldn't disturb enough to, but I understand that.
Okay, great.
Thanks for the question. Any other questions?
Nope.
Hearing none. Mary Rose, remind us, this application was presented for the first time tonight, so we can take no action, correct?
Right, we can ask questions, take no action, request additional information, request a site walk, schedule a public hearing. No petition has been received as of this evening.
Yeah, I don't think we need a site walk. Unless there's a motion on the floor to do that, I don't think that's necessary.
I agree.
I think we have all the information we need.
looks pretty complete to me.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Wassenaar, for presenting. We'll see you at the next meeting in regards to this.
Thank you very much. I'll just mute myself because I'll be here for your next application,
Okay.
2 applications ahead.
Okay, Mary Rose, take us through the next one, please.
Alrighty, hold on, we'll get you. This is get a share up. I apologize. Shouldn't have taken that down. We are on to item E2, violation IWC 22-00100 New Haven Avenue. This was a violation. Let's see if we can get that I issued I got a complaint and visited the site on February 24th and found Ian Boggin of Boggin's Tree Service clearing brush and trees from the front of the property and blowing chips over the disturbed area towards the wetlands. Mr. Boggin stated that Mr. Monaco, the new property owner, had hired him and assured him that he had all the necessary paperwork and permits to do the work. Mr. Monaco came to the site and stated that he had all the necessary paperwork, but he hadn't submitted anything. I had submitted a pre-application, or I mailed a pre-application form to his realtor at his request back in October. But I never received a completed form or brought this to the agency's attention. Basically, they cut down 1 or 2 trees and they cleared a bit of knotweed. As you can see in the photos that were showing from my sidewalk report that was in the meeting links. I reviewed the permit requirements and additional stabilization needs with Mr. Monaco. He stated he'd have his attorney and architect contact me to do the necessary paperwork. We have not been contacted by Mr. Monaco or his professionals. My field report and photos were included in the documents, as I said. I have a soil report that I believe we attached today to the documents, I'm hoping. Back in 2007, Ken Stevens did a delineation on the site. The person who owned it at the time was attempting to sell the property and had phragmites and knotweed up to the street. So they requested permission to do some mitigation clearing so that they could find out where the wetlands were, because it was so dense, the soil scientists couldn't get on site. So this rather fuzzy plan from 2007 shows the water course on the, as you're facing it, the left or west side of the property. And on the right, there's upland as you go up to the veterinary hospital. And then a wetland line roughly running along the side of the intermittent water course towards the back of the property. The clearing at this time, I believe, is only in here where you're seeing my cursor on the screen. The work is within 100 feet. The chips were blown towards the wetland area. Go back up to the photos because I realize that map is not as clear as it could be, but that's what we had at the time. So this is the street area that was cleared. There's the chiropractic office. This is New Haven Avenue. Running where my cursor is a intermittent water course. It's a storm drain that comes off of State Route 121. This picture is more of that storm drain. As you get out in this area that's darker, there's about a 2-foot grade change. And just general picture of the chips and the material on site. And this is the veterinary hospital. It's on the opposite, or I believe the eastern side of the site. As you go up, you can see the knotweed. There had been a tree here and material, and there's just a significant slope here. And I believe that's all I have. So I don't see. Is anyone here this evening to represent 0 New Haven Avenue or Mr. Monaco? Mr. Monaco had told me that Attorney Kersaden would be involved in this project. We did invite Mr. Kersaden this evening. He responded that he was not a party to this project.
So at this point, the recommendation is to uphold the violation.
Recommendations to uphold the violation. We had requested core fiber log or additional stabilization along this edge. That has not been put in. So at this time, we would want to amend the order to push that out until maybe Friday or Monday. I'd probably say Monday because he needs to have time to get the letter. And we had requested that he hire a soil scientist by today and submit a survey by the 2nd of May, as well as a mitigation and monitoring plan by the 2nd of May. I don't know if the agency would like to change those dates. Obviously, the erosion control date needs to change, and the wetland scientist date, because those dates have passed.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with following your steer.
I would, so I can figure out what next Tuesday is. I would say, worst case in the mail being what it is, that we require the erosion controls be in by the 12th. And that he at least hire a soil scientist by the 19th, which would be able to submit those credentials to us on the 20th.
Sounds good.
I don't want to throw the survey dates out too far. I know that it's unlikely that anyone can hire a surveyor and get them to get the work in a week or two. I think they're running, Mr. Wasper can answer, but I think they're running 4 to 6 on surveys at this point. So I would suggest leaving the May dates until we actually get some information from Mr. Monaco as to when he will have the survey of this property.
Sounds good to me.
All right, Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the proposed motion?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that cease and desist order IWC 220010, 0 New Haven Avenue, be upheld and modified to require the property owner to complete installation or submit the information required in the order by the following dates. Properly install soil erosion and sedimentation controls by 4/12/22. Hire a certified soil scientist or professional wetland scientist by 4/19/22. Submit the required A2 survey with T2 accuracy by 5/2/22. And submit a detailed mitigation and planting plan for review and approval by 5/2/22.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. A motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second from Mr. Munson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Any abstains? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mary Rose.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is IWE3 violation, I'm sorry, item E3 violation IWC 220011, 918 Wheelers Farms Road. In response to a complaint of material from a stone wall being put into Turkey Hill Brook. Let me share. If I have. Okay. This is a GIS aerial of the site, and this is our area of concern where the mouse is towards Wheelers Farms Road. This dotted line below is a soil scientist line done a number of years ago for a sewer line installation. All right, so in response to a complaint of material from a stone wall being put into Turkey Hill Brook, I visited the site on 3/21/22 with Tara Mastakos-Wasper of the Milford Health Department. Dan Parapazano and another man from Clear Cutting Services of Woodbury, Connecticut, had a machine and removing a stone wall adjacent to the driveway was disturbed, and putting the stones from the stone wall into Turkey Hill Brook. This area of the driveway was open and disturbed soil. I explained to Mr. Parapanasso that he had put the stones into the brook. He didn't have a permit, and he didn't realize that would be required, as well as any work within 100 feet of a wetland in this watershed, which is the Housatonic River watershed. I looked at the material in the stream. I had the ability to take one photo and was told to leave the property by a man that appeared on the balcony of the house. He stated that he had children on the property, and he didn't want anyone on the site or taking pictures. As I was leaving, I asked the crew from Clear Cutting Services to stabilize the area at that time with silt fencing, hay bales, or fiber log to prevent erosion of the disturbed yard and driveway into the brook. On April 5th, yesterday, I was contacted by Ron Wasmer, CT Civil Group, and informed that he would be surveying the site and would be contacting Bill Kenny of William Kenny Associates to flag the wetlands on the property. I explained my concerns with the lack of protection of the water course with the significant rain that was projected last night through tomorrow. He stated he was going up to the property and would speak with the owner about getting erosion controls installed. I received an email later yesterday afternoon, and that was in your links today, forwarded from Raymond Testo with photos of the hay bales installed on the property. Stones visible in my photos from 321 appear to be removed from the brook in the 4-5 photos submitted by Mr. Wasmer. That email chain from Mr. Wasmer also included a request to William Kenny to create a contract for wetland delineation on the property. So this evening we have with us Ron Wasmer from Connecticut Civil Group and Raymond Testo, which I believe is a principal or a property owner. The photos of the day I was there are here. This is the driveway area that was disturbed. This is the creek. These are the stones that were thrown in it. This is Turkey Hill Brook. To my back is Wheelers Farms Road. This is another portion of the site. We had received complaints of manure and debris dumped. To my right and off to the bottom is Herbert Brook. And this debris is just above that area. Photos received today show us hay bales along that area. The driveway again is to the right with the Wheelers Farms Road here on the bottom of the photo. Those stones that we had seen earlier are now gone. And the hay bales were staked. The twine is on the top and the bottom. It should be on the side so it doesn't rot away, but it is performing a function. So we've got it. Hay bales again above the brook. This is Wheelers Farms Road and Bridge. And request for Mr. Kenny's contract.
Thank you, Mary Rose, for the introduction. Either Mr. Testo or Mr. Wasmer, is there anything you'd like to add to the record?
I'll briefly chime in. Again, Ronald Wasmer, professional engineer, land surveyor with the office at 158 Research Drive. I just concur with my portion of what Mary Rose said. I have been working with Mr. Testo and Freedom Farms in preparing a survey because we're working on a zoning application. This came to my attention Monday. I was out of town. I went over to visit Mr. Testo yesterday. Prior to that visit, I spoke with Mary Rose, told her that I was going to go visit with him. And then he showed me the area that was of concern, which is what Mary Rose had presented in her pictures. And I expressed the concern about getting some stabilization prior to the rains that we had today. So to his credit, he did the best that he could to get something in place, with the kind of the caveat that he's not involved in the construction industry per se or development industry. So some of this stuff is definitely new to him. I believe Mr. Testo is here this evening. If he wants to add anything else, he can certainly do that.
Thanks, Ron. Ray Testo from 922 Wheelers Farm Road. In regards to the 918, I just wanted to add that the manure that we spread on our fields is quite far from the river, or I guess the wetlands that you're referring to, in the rear of the property. And so, I would just I wouldn't mind having a deeper conversation on that, or maybe Ron, next time you're here, we could just walk that site and make sure we're not doing anything in violation, or, make sure we have all our I's dotted and our T's crossed. Thanks all for your time.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that, right?
Thank you, Mr. Testo. Mr. Testo, are you on board with the plan to hire the soil scientist and follow the guidance as set forth in the violation?
Yes, definitely. We don't want to be in violation of anything. And, for a while now, we've been working with the city to make sure that we're, above board.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor Rose, is there anything further we need to discuss this evening?
No, I think we may want to, similar to the previous violation, just change some of these dates. We've got a requirement that the soil scientist be hired by today. It's in process, it's just not done. So I don't know if you want to throw that out till next week. In discussions with Mr. Wassmer, it's more likely that he could have the survey ready by the next meeting in May, not by May 2nd, but maybe by May, I'm sorry, lost the date. But in time for the May 11th, I'm sorry, the May 18th meeting. So he could probably have those plans done, I think, by the 12th or the 13th of May. But we would be rushing things, as you saw in the overall photo. It's a rather large site that he's surveying. He's not just surveying that one little stream. So he's asked for potentially moving the May 2nd date to May 13th.
18.
Sounds
18,
reasonable.
right, Mayor Rose?
I'm sorry, Mr. Connors?
Didn't Mayor Rose say the 18th?
The meeting's on the 18th, Jim. So
Oh, okay.
in order for you guys to maybe look at it on the weekend, or,
Right,
have some time
okay.
to review prior to the meeting.
Misunderstood you.
No problem. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Wasser. Ron, do you think you'll hear back from Mr. Kenny by Tuesday? Or
We'll give
next
him a
Thursday?
call tomorrow to
Right.
try to push him along as quickly as possible.
Right, we'll put the items together for the next meeting on the 14th. Do we want to push the hiring of the soil scientist out to the 14th of March? I'm sorry, April.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Ron, if it's okay with Mr. Testo, the next time that you're going out, if I may join you just to take a look at those hay bales and see how their installation is. We can try to arrange that in the next week or so.
Yeah, absolutely.
No issues here.
All right, so if we change the erosion and sediment controls to 414, they're in. We just want to make sure that they're fine. Hiring a soil scientist by April 14th and getting the surveys in by May 13th. Do you want me to read that motion? The proposed motion is, Mr. Chairman, I move that cease and desist order violation IWC 220011, 918 Wheelers Farms Road be upheld and modified to require the property owner to complete the installation or submit the information required in the order by the following dates. Properly install soil erosion sedimentation controls by 4/14/22. Hire a certified soil scientist or professional wetland scientist by 4/14/22. Submit the required A2 survey with T2 accuracy by 5/13/22. Submit a detailed mitigation and planting plan for review and approval by 5/13/22.
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made. Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Second from Mr. Matthew Connors. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Testo. Thank you, Mr. Wassmer.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda. I believe it's meeting minutes
Yes, it's
from the
submitted to the
prior
previous
meeting.
meeting.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the prior meeting as presented?
I'll second it.
We need a motion first.
Oh, I'll make the motion. I'm sorry.
You, do we need?
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Donaldson. Will do. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstains?
I need to abstain because I wasn't there.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Tryon. Motion carries. Next up on the agenda, staff report.
Alrighty. We've been working on a lot of inquiries, a number of complaints, some bond release requests, and some minor reviews. I do have a larger project that will be coming in to you. I don't think that'll be submitted till the 19th for the meeting on the 20th. I think we've discussed, or I may not have, this is the 50th anniversary of the Connecticut and the Wetlands and Watercourses Act this year, and the Connecticut Water Planning Council has been doing some lunchtime talks and such, outreach and education. I'll send you out the information when received, but on May 11th, there'll be a lunchtime talk about wetlands and climate change resiliency. And on June 8th, it will be to discuss rivers and watercourses, the importance of riparian zones. Both sessions are on Zoom. They're from 12 to 1. It's basically like kind of a brown bag lunch without having to leave your desk. So I'll send those out. There's a few other places that are doing things as well. As I get them, I will forward them to you.
Thank
A
you.
reminder to anyone who hasn't completed it that the Wetland Commissioner training is up and running, and the link to that will be in the meeting notes, was in the meeting notes that went out to you, but will be in the minutes. Other than that, sites really haven't changed much. We've got people in process. We're waiting for calls on things. 690 New Haven Avenue started construction, has their erosion control in. 201 Kings Highway, that was the pool, that started construction this week. And Marsh Street, the house is down and the work's ongoing. Mr. Munson reminded me that he and Vice Chairman Panico attended the CCM training on parliamentarian procedure. I don't know if he has anything to say on that.
Yeah, I listened to it, and actually, I don't think it applied too much to what we do. Most of the people involved in that seminar were Board of Education people. And I think there was more emphasis on kind of controlling, how much dissent are you going to allow? I mean, it wasn't exactly, it wasn't really about running a meeting. It was really more about how do you handle, how much time do you give people to speak, that kind of thing. It's not the kind of, they were emphasizing a kind of a set of problems that I've never found us to really have. I mean, we've always listened to people, and I think it was sort of more geared to people that are dealing in a more political realm than we do. So, I mean, it was interesting, I guess, but I don't think it applied too much to what we do. It really wasn't about meetings. It's really more about how you control, contentious meetings. We've had meetings that are contentious, but nothing like what they were talking about.
No, ours are pretty same.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, we've had some doozies back in the day, but a strong chair will hold, you'll get people who will catcall or yell out in a meeting, or they think they're home eating popcorn and can just yell at the TV, whatever they'd like. And they forget that this is a due process meeting for the folks that have the application, and polite discourse is allowed. But generally acting as a thug or yelling and screaming is very inappropriate in a public setting.
Yeah, I think we've always done a pretty good job of handling this. I think our current chairman, I think, handles the meetings well, and the hearings most especially.
Mm, thank
And
you.
I think we've had past chairmen that have done a pretty good job too. It's really more of a matter of just setting the rules.
Rules and control.
Really, I think we've always done a pretty good job. Like, you know. So I mean, it was interesting. It's interesting to listen to, but I don't know how much. I didn't hear anything that would lead me to have a suggestion on how we would change what we're doing now. Let me put it that way.
That was going to be my follow-up question, Mr. Monson. Okay.
So other than that, just a reminder to email or call or let me know if you're not going to be available. Our next meeting is right before the Easter and I believe the Passover holidays. So if you're going to be out of town, please just let us know.
I'll let you know right now, Margot, I won't be at that meeting.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you, Mary Rose. Thanks for all the work you've done on these violations. They seem to be rather prevalent of late. Never easy. That's a little bit challenging to deal with that. So there again, I think, we hold a very transparent process. We've got to be consistent with that. So
yeah, this is Ranjit. Actually, I have a question for Mary Rose. How does she find out these violations?
They come in a variety of ways. Maybe when I'm out looking at other sites that I see something. Of late, it's been a lot of calls. Usually this time of year, you have everybody gets out and they go for a walk, and all of a sudden they notice stuff going on in their neighborhood. And so they're not sure, they don't like it. There was one call today that about somebody who she thought brought in 30 truckloads of fill last summer, but thought it was important to let me know today. So we will go out on that, but I was getting my coat when I got the call. We got 30 trucks going somewhere. So I get my coat to go out and then I'm talking to her. She's like, well, it was last summer and the leaves are going to come on the trees. So maybe you should come now and look. Okay. Maybe we'll do that after we get ready for the meeting and we'll go look at that. So I've run out on 30 truckloads before and then found the pile of dirt that it was a very small truck. So we'll see what we find. We do have the ability, there are spots on the website where people can report things in. Some of them come to me directly, some of them go up to MIS and live there for a while and then find their way to me after a bit. So there's just a variety of ways. People can come to the counter and complain.
Okay, I was just curious.
Excuse me. Any other questions for Mary Rose? Okay, hearing none. Moving on to the chair's report. Just a reminder, the next meeting is April 20th, 2 weeks from today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You'll have it.
Motion to
I'll
adjourn.
second that.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.
Stay
Happy
safe.
holidays, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Hello?
Mr. Tierson?
Yes, Tierstein, yes. I'm just a college student I attended this meeting because doing this assignment where I just have to do like a news art, like I'm just doing like a web article. It's just a required class. I have to go to like 5 board or commission meetings.
Yep.
And this is just one of them I'm going. So do you mind if I just take a picture I can't really a screenshot just for the professor to see? Is that okay?
Well, this is a public meeting. You don't have to ask permission.
Okay.
Right, and you'll also be aware that this will be up on our website, on the City of Milford YouTube channel. That will be posted tomorrow. And the links for any of the items that you might want to write an article on are on the agenda, which is on the page.
Okay,
Hmm.
all right.
Good luck with the assignment.
Thank you for asking. Good luck with your article.
Thank you,
Of course.
and
Let us,
have a good one.
let us know what your grade is.
We didn't see about that.
All right, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Good night.